Hey everyone, Dr. Trevor Cates here, and it is winter solstice today. So it is officially winter now. I'm looking outside my windows and there is tons of snow coming down here in Park City. Hopefully it does feel like winter where you live. I don't know about you, but I love the seasons, and so it's great to enjoy them. However, they do make create changes for our moods, our hormones, our immune systems. So it's important to make changes for the season. So when the seasons shift, it's time to make changes with our food, movement, mindset, and skincare to help our bodies adjust, our moods adjust, our hormones adjust, our immune systems. So I want to share some tips with you today. And I did a lot of research for my book, Natural Beauty Reset, that has recommendations for each season, including the winter season. So I'm excited to share some of that with you today. So today is winter solstice. It is the shortest day of the year. It's typically around December 20th. This year, it's on the 21st in the Northern Hemisphere. And winter, like I mentioned, it creates these shifts with our hormones and our moods, our metabolisms as well, and our immune system. So the day today is the shortest day, right? So the length of the day, the amount of sunlight that we are getting impacts our brain, it impacts our mood, it impacts our hormones, impacts our skin, so many different factors, because and it also impacts the food that grows around us, and the nutrient quality of those. So I want to share some tips with you today. You can find a lot of details in my book, Natural Beauty Reset. I have an entire winter 7-day natural beauty reset. And I'm also going to be leading people through that as a group on January 13th. We're going to be doing a prep. And then January 17th, I'm going to lead everybody through the program live, which is a combination of my Natural Beauty Reset program along with Clean Skin from Within. So if you want details, just stay tuned. We have some information coming out about that soon. If you're not on my email list or following me on social media, I encourage you to do that so you can get the information as soon as we have that available. Really, just you have to have both books in order to do the program. So, both of my books, since that's where I'm pulling that from. But in the meantime, let's talk about some of these changes that happen with the shift into winter that are going to be things that you want to pay attention to. One of them is your vitamin D levels. So vitamin D our levels tend to drop in the wintertime because we're getting less of sun exposure. So we have all the sunlight exposure that we got in the summertime from the sun touching our skin and creating the vitamin D. But as we go through and as it gets darker and darker, we have less vitamin D. So, vitamin D helps with our neurotransmitters, including serotonin, which helps us with our mood. And also, vitamin D helps us with our immune system. So, we want to be mindful of that. We might want to go get our vitamin D levels tested. It's a 25 hydroxy vitamin D. You can get your level. You ask your doctor to test your levels, see where you are. You might need some supplementation to help get you through the winter so you don't feel those winter blues and notice a drop in your immune system. As we know, there are lots of viruses going around right now. So many people I know have been getting sick. So we want to keep our immune system strong during these times as well. And another thing that changes with the winter is metabolism. It might surprise you that our thyroid hormone can actually change in the wintertime. So, our thyroid hormones help us with metabolism. And when we have low thyroid function, we tend to put on weight more easily, have drier skin, we might be more tired or constipated, or our hair could be falling out. And so, we may notice a change with that. And so you could notice a change in your thyroid hormones. So that could shift going into the winter season. So if you do have a thyroid condition, you might want to get your levels tested if you haven't in a while. So because that can be impacted, it can actually elevate, and T3 can actually elevate in the winter, and can be higher than in the summer because of colder weather. But it really depends on you And so you might want to get your levels tested for that. Also, another thing that happens is our ability to manage stress. So we may be more stressed in the winter time. Might be less resilient. So you want to follow mindfulness techniques that can help you with managing stress in the winter time. So that would be something to consider, especially since cortisol levels, our adrenal hormone, our stress hormone, can be higher in the winter time compared to other times of the year. But I do have some good news about winter that actually your appetite might go down in winter. Now, it may not be exactly there right now during the holidays when there are lots of sugary treats around and temptations. You may not feel like your appetite's lower, but there are a couple of hormones involved in our appetite, leptin and ghrelin. So, leptin sensitivity tends to increase in the wintertime, while ghrelin levels tend to decrease. So this means that we tend to feel fuller and less hungry. Now, again, if you're like getting addicted to sugar and being tempted by holiday treats, you may not be feeling that. But this is a normal reaction that can happen in the wintertime in response to the cold. It's like our bodies want to go into hibernation. So you might notice your appetite will decrease. If you haven't noticed that, that's okay too. Sleep is another thing that might actually be easier right now because of the darker days. Your melatonin levels, it might be an easier way to get your melatonin levels to where you want them to be, because melatonin is triggered by darkness. And so we have darker days, we tend to get a little bit better sleep. So now's the time to catch up on some sleep, get your sleep routine dialed in so that you're making sure that you're getting that all set. So one of the things that you might notice is that if you live in a place where the temperatures are dropping, it can really, you've got snow and ice storms, they can actually be really hard on us emotionally and physically. And physically, that includes our skin. So our skin tends to be drier in the wintertime, and, when I first moved to Park City, Utah, and it was a snow day and I felt so dry, I was like, why is there snow falling from the sky and my skin feels dry? Well, actually, even when there's snow falling, because of the cold temperatures, it's drier than on a warmer day. So, yes, dryness is a big one, especially when you're looking at skin issues, hydration, but also it can affect our mood. And the holidays can already be a hard time for people. And so it is an important time to take care of yourself emotionally. I also encourage you to check in with other people. While for many people, holidays can be a joyous time, many others struggle during the holidays. And so make sure, if you're struggling, get help. And if you do know other people that you think might be struggling, check in with them, because the holidays can be a really tough time. And winter itself and the colder temperatures can cause a drop in our mood. And so you might notice, your energy's not as great, your mood's not as great, but we can do things with mindfulness practices, meditation, yoga, even if it's like moving your body gently, but just moving your body, getting outdoors and bundling up and getting some movement can really help both your energy and your mood. There are also some nutritional changes that can happen in the winter because we may not be getting as many leafy greens that provide things like folate. So that also, folate is important for serotonin production, adrenal function. So we really want to support our bodies nutritionally. You might want to consider adding in a multivitamin mineral supplement to fill in those nutritional gaps, because the nutrients in our food in the wintertime just aren't as good as when we have prolific amounts of produce in the summer and fall months. So in the winter time, if you're going to the regular grocery store, there a lot of that produce is shipping from really far away. It's things are picked when they're not ripe, so the nutrients quality is not there. And also, if you live somewhere like I live in Park City, there's no growing a garden right now unless you have a greenhouse, and so that can be a lot more challenging. So when you look at food in wintertime, it is good to still shop as much as you can seasonal foods because you're still going to get more nutrients from your food if you eat more winter vegetables, produce, and not as much of the summer, fall, spring produce. And that is partly because of the nutritional status. Also, the flavor is usually better when you eat in season, but also warming foods are important, especially if you live in a cold environment. And so you want to avoid ch- cooling or chilled or frozen foods. Things like also cooling foods. We think of things like cucumbers and watermelon and mint can be very cooling and great to eat in the summer months, but not so much in the winter months. So getting more warming spices and things like cinnamon and nutmeg and ginger and turmeric and maybe a little cayenne and spices like that that help warm you up in the winter season. And then looking at things like more along the lines when we look at fruits, things like apples and pears. And you might also be able to get citrus because if you know that would depending on where you live may not be at your local farmers market, but oranges and grapefruits, lemons, those can be easier to get this type of year because they grow more readily this time of year in certain places. And also, you might want to look at more fruit types of vegetables like turnips and carrots and also certain types of winter squash. So those are great things to enjoy this time of year. Also, cabbage and parsnips and Brussels sprouts and you can still probably get some good kale as well as potatoes. Those are all great things to enjoy, but you also can enjoy maybe some dried legumes and some nuts and seeds. And as far as animal protein, if you do eat animal protein, things like bison, venison, those types of things can be more readily available in the winter season. And then enjoy those warming spices. So you can learn more about foods to eat in my book, Natural Beauty Reset. But I wanted to hop in, celebrate winter solstice. I'm going to be heading over to a sound bath and yoga to bring in the winter solstice. Hopefully, you're able to do something today to celebrate the winter season. And I will be sharing more with you about our winter masterclass cleanse in the coming days. So stay tuned and happy holidays. Happy solstice to all of you.